welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing the best and worst books that I've read in 2021 so far. I have the questions right here, so let's get into it. Question number 1 is my favorite book that I've read so far this year, and that was an easy question. The best book I've read this year is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I can't believe I hadn't read it before this year. I read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo last year at the end of the year, and then I started this one in like February. I read it in one sitting over the course of one night. I actually picked it up after I got home from work, and it was pretty late at night, and I just wanted to read a couple pages of something before I went to bed, and I started this one, and I picked up a bookmark and everything, and I never used the bookmark because I never put it down until I finished it. I put a lot of tabs in it because it was just so beautiful. This was such a good book, and I recommend this to everyone. It's basically, I think everyone knows what it's about by this point, but it's set in the 70s. It's told in an interview format with this rock band from the 70s called The Six, and Daisy Jones was an artist in the 70s, and they like team up for some music and stuff. So this is set like present day or like present-ish day, and it's just like recounting and retelling things that happened then and things that are happening now, and it's really, really good. I don't even know how to explain it. Daisy is such a complex character, and she's without a doubt like one of my favorite female characters of all time. I think about this book all the time. Question 2, the best sequel that I read this year is 100% Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. I love the Last Hour series. The Infernal Devices series by Cassandra Clare is my favorite series of all time, and this follows the children of the characters in that series. Basically, the Infernal Devices series is, if you don't know about Shadowhunters, like, look it up before you try to read any of these, because some people recommend you read all of them before you read this series. Some people recommend you read just the Infernal Devices before this series, but I have read all of them, and I read this one when it came out this year. And it's so stunning, and I loved it so much. James, Cordelia, and Matthew are like my favorite characters, and Lucy and all the characters in this book are so amazing. And I love seeing the characters from the Infernal Devices as the parents and as like couples. It's really, someone's cutting the grass, sorry. It's really interesting to see, and I just love this series. I can't wait for the 3rd installment to come out next year. Probably gonna break my heart, but I can't wait. Question 3 is a new release that came out this year that I haven't read yet, and I chose Aristotle and Dante Dive into the Waters of the World. I'm very excited for this one. This cover is beautiful. I read Secrets of the Universe last year, a couple years ago, I don't even remember at this point, but I loved it. I thought it was so fun, and it was so well written, and I really loved the characters and everything. So I'm hoping to get to this one soon. I just recently bought it. I think it just came out this month, but I can't wait to get to this. Next question is my most anticipated releases for the rest of this year. I have 2. Originally I was going to say Court by Tracy Wolff, which is the 4th book in the Crave series, but I think I read that the release date was pushed back to 2022, so I guess I'm going to go with The Righteous by Renee Ahdieh, which is the 3rd book in the Beautiful and the Damned series. Beautiful series, I'm not sure what it's called, but I really liked the first 2 books, and I'm excited to see the 3rd book. I'm not sure how it's going to be for me because each one in this series is told from a different perspective, like a different character's perspective, and I really love the perspective of the 1st book. And I liked the perspective of the 2nd book, but not as much, but he was still a main character. The perspective of the 3rd book, she wasn't like a main character in either of the first 2 books, and I'm not really sure if I'm going to like it that much because I don't really know that much about her as a character, but maybe it'll surprise me, so we'll see. I'm excited for that one though, regardless, because I miss those characters. The next question is my biggest disappointment of the year, and I have 2 books to read, and I have 2 books to talk about. The first one is The Night Country by Melissa Albert. This is the sequel to The Hazelwood, and I think the only reason this book let me down so much is because The Hazelwood is probably in like my top 5 favorite books of all time. It's just like the most satisfying book to me. Like everything is wrapped up so perfectly, and it's so stunning, and I honestly wish it was a standalone. I was really, really excited when I heard that there was a sequel to it, and I just got to it this year. I don't think it came out this year, I'm not sure. It came out in 2019, but I just read it this year, and it was okay just in the fact that I love the characters in this book and I love the world, but the plot was kind of unnecessary, and I felt like the Hazelwood was just so perfect that like the Night Country just like couldn't compare for me. So I think I just had such high expectations for this, and I was inevitably let down. So not a bad book, but just disappointing for me. The next one is The Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I think this was such a letdown once again because I had such high expectations for it, because Taylor Jenkins Reid is one of my favorite authors of all time. She's so amazing, and I still love her writing style, and the characters from this are the kids of one of the husbands from Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So I was really excited about that aspect of it, and I love her world and her writing style and everything. And I flew through this. I read this in one sitting. I read this in one day, and I enjoyed it. If it wasn't by her, I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more, because I just expect so much better from her. The story kind of fell flat. I felt like there really wasn't a plot at some point. And to me, a lot of things were really unnecessary. A lot of things with the dad and some things with the brothers and everything. Like, a lot of it just felt really unnecessary and kind of like she was just trying to fill a book up. I don't know. I still love her, and I will read everything she releases forever. But this book just like wasn't everything to me like I was hoping it was going to be. Once again, not a bad book. Just let me down a little bit just because of the author. The next question is the biggest surprise of this year. And honestly, this one was pretty easy for me too, which I chose Crave by Tracy Wolff. But really, this whole series surprised me because I'd heard a lot about it being like similar to Twilight and very like young adult trashy, and so I went into it thinking like young adult trashy Twilight vibes, and that was like not really what I got from it. Like, it's young adult and it's trashy. It's trashy in the sense that it's very aware of itself. Like, I feel like the characters say cringy stuff, but they're very aware that it's cringy, if that makes sense. But I feel like the characters were so well done. They're so like established, and they're so deep, and I feel like I knew each and every character. The main character, Grace, I like love her. She's so amazing. I just felt like it was so good, and there's a love triangle that goes on more in like the second and third books, but it's just like my favorite love triangle. Like, all of the characters in this book are so amazing, and everything that happened was like so well done, and I felt like really necessary every single step of the way. Like, it knew exactly what it was doing from the beginning, which is really nice when you read a series and you can tell from the last book that they had in mind the ending from the beginning. It feels really well like planned out and everything, so that's why I'm really excited for the fourth book to come out. It was supposed to be out already, and now it's getting pushed back, and it pushed back again to 2022, so I don't know, but there's definitely going to be a fourth and a fifth book, and I will definitely read those because I read all three of these so fast, and I read them multiple times because as soon as I finished the third one, I started the first one again because I missed them already. So I highly recommend that. It's in Alaska at a boarding school. And basically this girl, her parents die, and she comes to live at this boarding school with her cousin, and her uncle is the headmaster. And right when she gets there, everyone is like really weird, and everyone's like being really weird towards her, and everyone is super suspicious. And people keep saying like ominous stuff, like, what are you doing here? Like, you shouldn't be here. Like, it's not safe for you here, stuff like that. And you know, obviously it's like vampires, and there's like a bunch of other creatures, and I don't want to get too spoilery, but it's really fun to me, and it's not just fun though. Like, there is some like darker stuff because it's like a vampire, and there's some death and stuff, but all around I think the series is like really good at what it's trying to do, which I respect. I love when a series does what it sets out to do and like doesn't try to go over and doesn't give you less than what you need. I just felt like it was really well done. Just really well done. The next question is favorite new author, and for this one I said Holly Black because I read the Cruel Prince series for the first time this year, which is shocking, but I've never read it before. But I read them so fast. I read all three, and then I read Carden's novellas, and I loved the series so much. I love Holly Black simply because her characters and her world is so like beautiful, and it's so well, I keep saying well done, but like these are my favorite books, so obviously I think they're well done. It has like enemies to lovers, which is a trope that I love, but it's also really hard to do. I feel like a lot of authors don't really hit it right on the head, but she really like did that with this book. Like it felt so realistic. Like the characters were not one-dimensional and they were not shallow. Like a lot of like even like the side characters I felt like were really well described and really established as characters in the story. And the next two questions I'm actually going to combine with this because the first one is newest favorite fictional character, and for that I said Jude, and newest fictional crush is Carden. I love them both as characters. I love them together. I love them separately. They're so well explained and described, and I feel like the reader just really, it's so easy to be engrossed by the series, and I'm so glad I read it when all three of the books are out, because I do not think I would have been able to wait. Even still, I wish there was another one. Like I hope there's more in this series. I don't think there will be. But I can hope. Next question is a book that made me cry, and I chose It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. Once again, I read this in one sitting. And before you read this, look up the trigger warnings because there's a lot of sensitive topics discussed in this book. But basically it's about this girl who has had like a really rough life, and she's faced like some demons and stuff from her past. But basically she meets this guy, and it's like describes like this beautiful love story, and it's like, and then it shows how it like can go bad. And I think I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about this book. Some people really love it. This was like crazy on TikTok for such a long time. Everyone and their mother was talking about this, and a lot of people really hate it. They think it's like cheesy and phony, and I just felt like really connected to it for some reason. I could not put it down. I loved it so much. I think I gave it 5 stars, maybe 4. But I've read a lot of Colleen Hoover books, and this one really was like the deepest and most connecting for me. I just felt like it was really beautiful, and I loved Lily and Atlas and even Ryle at times. There was like a lot that went on in this book and a lot that went into it, and there were some parts that I didn't love. The whole Ellen thing was kind of weird to me. Like, I think it would have been okay if we had just read like diary entries from when she was a kid and not like letters that she was writing to the Ellen show. Like, that part was really confusing to me. That whole thing with her and Atlas and Ellen DeGeneres, kind of unnecessary. I don't really love Ellen, but just my opinion. Next is a book that made me happy, and I chose The X Hex by Erin Sterling. I read this book this month. This book follows Vivian Jones, and her cousin and her aunt, they're witches, and she dates this warlock when she's, I think, a freshman in college, and it's really good, and it ends kind of badly. So her and her cousin hex him when she's like heartbroken and they're drunk, and they didn't think it actually worked. And then like 9 years later, he comes back to the town where she lives, and all these things are happening with him and his magic, and they realize the hex worked, and they're trying to work through that while also working through seeing this guy who like broke her heart again. It's like, it was really cute, and it just felt so rom-com-y to me, which is why it made me so happy. It was literally like watching like a early 2000s rom-com. It was just so fun, and if this was a movie, I would watch it every Halloween. It would be so amazing. I hope they make it a movie. I really recommend this. I think it just came out like last month or this month or something. It was my book of the month this month, which is how I found it, and I really liked it. The next question is the most beautiful book that I bought this year, and I love beautiful editions of books that I already liked. So when I saw this edition of Heartless by Marissa Meyer, I literally had a heart attack. First of all, the dust jacket on its own is so beautiful. It's black and it's red. Oh, it's so beautiful. But then under the dust jacket, this is like insane. This is probably the most beautiful book I own. I love the jest and the crown, and I liked this book a lot. I read it like a year or two ago. This book was like really fun. It's a Wonderland backstory, and I really liked it, but this edition is so ridiculous. It has like the red foiling. Oh my god. If you don't know, red and black are my favorite colors, and everything about this book, I display it on my bookshelves because it's so stunning. The last question is books that I still need to read before the end of the year. And I'm going to talk about 3. The first one is The Maidens by Michelettis. I was hoping to read this month, but it's already the end of the month. But it's already the end of the month, so I doubt that's going to happen. But I'm hoping to get to it soon because it sounds so amazing. I've talked about it in another video, I think. It's basically like this Greek professor and this girl who used to be his student thinks he murdered someone, and she's trying to prove his guilt. But I love Greek history, and this just sounds really amazing and spooky. I also really want to read The Starless Sea by Erin Sterling. I also talked about this in another video, but The Night Circus is one of my favorite books of all time. And I just bought this book, The Starless Sea, and I've never read it, which is shocking because I read The Night Circus a long time ago, and I think about it all the time. Like, the writing was so beautiful, the whole world was so majestic, all the characters were so well done, were so well thought out, and I've heard nothing but good things about The Starless Sea, so I'm really excited to get to it. Honestly, I know nothing about it. It's pitched as a story about stories, which sounds right up my alley, so hopefully I get to that soon. The last one is massive. It's Tomi by Junji Ito. It's a manga, but it's huge, so I think I'm gonna read this like in parts, or I'm just gonna have to sit down and read it one day. It's gonna take me like the rest of my life. It's huge, but I have heard so much cool stuff about this book, and it looks amazing. It's basically about this girl who keeps dying and coming back to life to haunt men, which is honestly iconic. So that's all the questions. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm gonna link the original video that I saw for this challenge down below so you can get the questions. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!